time to talk about the newly announced coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria, Mike. I'm sure as of yesterday when you left the studios, nothing was said about the Super Eagles coach.
Nothing at all. In fact, to my greatest surprise that the wee hours of this morning, we had that, filtered in that, they've appointed. I said, what? I had to go through the social media handle, the official social media handle of NFF on X, formerly known as Twitter, and also on Facebook, to actually confirm if there is anything to go by, to take that news, with seriousness, or to take it with a pinch of salt. But then, actually discovered that it was true that a new head coach, the German tactician in Bruno Labbadia, has been appointed as the head coach of the Super Eagles. So for me, I think it came as a surprise to me, because there was no sign of such appointment by the NFF and their technical committee, because we've been going back and forth on who to appoint. You see that they come up to tell us that the French coach, talking about Javi Renard, is in. Sometimes they will tell you he's out. There are so many names that have been mooted, but then, to my greatest surprise, the wee hours of this morning, we had that news feeded in that the German tactician has been appointed as the Super Eagles coach.
All right, joining us now is one man who understands the workings of Team Nigeria, and of course, as we prepare for the AFCON qualifier, we're already thinking of how we'll travel to Yo for that game, and then the announcement of the new head coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria, Bruno Labbadia, is on. Okudini Christian Osakwe is a sports pundit, and of course, one that is very familiar with the workings of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Oku, welcome to Atlantic Television Network this evening.
Yeah, thank you, Temple, and it's nice to be here.
Nice to be here. Let me get your general take. When you heard that that news dropped at 5:15 this morning, when you heard that a new coach has been appointed, what ran into your mind?
First of all, I was surprised it was coming so early. Maybe they had a midnight session. I don't know why they broke the news that early, but maybe it's another new way of having things done. Yeah, I was excited. I must tell you the truth, I was excited because of all the coaches that we have had, all the names that we have had. He seems to be, he has a better CV than all the other coaches that we have, especially the last one that was thinking around Jan Anderson. So it was a feeling of excitement for me, given the fact that we have an AFCON qualifier to prosecute in a little less than 2 weeks' time.
Earlier this morning I spoke with our man, and we're talking about you. I say you and him will travel to you next week for that encounter. And we're just talking about it. A lot of persons are still having mixed reaction, or mixed reactions already popping out, being elicited that this man in question, yes, he is an expert in terms of promoting teams from relegation. He's also an expert, in also drowning teams to relegation. So how do we manage this surprise, given that he has not been on the lips of the technical committee during this recruitment and the screening processes of a new coach? At what point did we come to getting him as the coach?
Well, that's the one question that the NFF will have to answer, because it took everyone by surprise. But I think maybe what I have to say is probably there were some things going on behind the scene that they didn't want to let out of the bag. But like I said, this gives us proper structure, because the Guavon arrangement was an interim one, and we don't want interim arrangements for our Super Eagles. We want a proper manager with a proper structure. Maybe he's going to come with his own backroom staff. That remains to be seen. But right now, everybody knows that we have a coach for the Super Eagles, and it's not business as usual. It's been a long time in the making, and I think this is the time that we need to, if we want to make anything of our football in the next few months or years, we need to start taking things like this seriously. So I must say I go with the NFF on this one. Put someone there. Let's just have a coach, at the helm of affairs.
But that's not what a lot of Nigerians will want. When you say put someone there, do you think he has attracted the legitimacy of leadership from Nigeria or from Nigerian supporters?
like I said, he happens to be the 6th German to manage the Super Eagles. The last German was Gennaro Rohr, and if you look at the two men CV by CV, I think he boasts a better CV than Gennaro Rohr. And a lot of people talked about Hervé Renard, and they also spoke about how this fellow Bruno Labbadia has no national team experience. Well, Hervé Renard also had a national team experience before, he won the trophy, the AFCON for Zambia. So I'm saying here, let's cut the man some slack. Let's give him time. Let's see what he has to offer. Like I said, if you place himself and the last two Super Eagles coaches we've had side by side, CV by CV, he beats them hands down. He beats Jose Pesero's CV. His CV beats that of Gennaro Rohr, who also did a very good job for Super Eagles. And both men, if Jose Pesero, given the time he was given, could take us to the AFCON finals, and Gennaro Rohr could get us the bronze, AFCON bronze, I think this Labbadia fellow would do an even better job. But like I said, it's a structure on ground. All I want the NFF to do is to just back him. We don't want to see a situation where the NFF backs players above coaches. We don't want to see that player power again in Super Eagles. That's one of the reasons that put Finidi in the kind of trouble that he found himself. So throw player power away, back this man, and give him all the support he needs. I believe he's going to deliver.
Just stick with us. I'll get back to you, but stay on the phone. Let me get back to my colleague in the studio. Mike, you heard from Okwi. He thinks that this is the right choice from the NFF. And of course, a lot of people are already thinking that the choice could be as a result of the funding challenge of the NFF. Do you agree with that?
Well, talking about the opinion of Okwi, I think I don't want to agree with him. I took a different line totally, because when he say we should just put somebody there and that he is the right man for the job because he boasts of a good CV, one will ask, what are the CVs that he boasts of? Because you talk about CV, you must have to talk about tangible substance of what you have achieved.
So what do you imply tangible substance compared to other coaches?
Tangible substance is about you having something to boast of, that this is what I have won, with so club. After playing 483 games during his career as a coach for Hoffenheim, for Stuttgart, and under 20 of the German teams out there, what actually can he boast of that this is a single silverware that I've won during my reign as a coach throughout the course of the year? So when you talk about CV, I truly don't understand. Then again, you talk about experience. He doesn't have any African football experience. Mind you that African football is quite different from the Europeans. So he might struggle at this point in time to cope with the pressure that comes with African football. And that is why I'm not comfortable. I was actually drumming support for Hervé Renard, and the reason is very simple. He has proven his worth in terms of African football. He won the African Cup of Nations with the Chipolopolo of Zambia in 2012. And so many persons may think that that was a fluke. But then he replicated the same feat with the Ivorians in 2015. So when you talk about money being one of the major factors, that is why NFF had to go for this coach, talking about Bruno. Do you want to sacrifice a quality coach in the altar that you don't have money by going for a lesser coach with less proven CV or integrity in terms of African football? So okay. I don't get it clear. So for me, I have a different opinion from that of Okwi or Sakwe. He's entitled to his opinion, no doubt, but for me, I take a different path.
Okay, the point he just raised now on the issue of having experience, and I asked, are there times when we've had coaches that have had the experience prior to the appointment as the Super Eagles coach?
Well, I was going to take on my colleague in the studio with that one. Now, let's go back, to some of our previous coaches. Gennaro Rohr had nothing to offer as in CV wise. Had not won anything before he became Super Eagles coach. Jose Pesero, the immediate one who left for Finidi George, was even worse than Gennaro Rohr. So I'm looking at some of the coaches we've had, and like I said, we don't know these fellows before they come to Nigeria. Yes, it's true he has no national team experience, but if you place him side by side with some of the coaches we've had in Super Eagles, he stands heads and shoulders above them. So until he comes in and shows us what he's capable of, we may not. I don't think it's the right time to judge him yet because, like I said, he stands. My point is, if you judge him based on the previous coaches we've had the likes of Betty Vox, who was also a German. We've had so many other coaches. We had Clemens Westerhoff. Hello, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. We had Lars Lagerbäck at some point.
Lars Lagerbäck, the Swedish man who just took us to the World Cup and ran away from there. We had Clemens Westerhoff, who did so well even if he had no national team experience. We didn't even know whether he had any coaching experience. We had Bonfrey Joe. We've had coaches who had not won anything but came to the Super Eagles and gave us trophies. Bonfrey Joe is an example. Clemens Westerhoff is another example. So let's give Bruno Labbadia his chance. Let's just give him a chance to show us what he's capable of. And until then, let's not judge him right now. We have a coach who won the Nations Cup AFCON with Tunisia. I'm trying to remember his name, Roger Lemaire. He coached the French side. He had no African experience, but he came in from Europe and won. He stands as one man who has won both the Euro and the AFCON as a coach. He had no prior African experience before he did that. So yes, Bruno Labbadia may not have any African experience, may not have any national team experience, but this is a clean slate because the AFCON, he's starting from a clean. It's a fresh start. This is not a World Cup qualifier. Let's see what he has to offer before we judge him. No. He's heads and shoulders above all the previous ones we've had, CV-wise.
You earlier said about respect. I mean, having a crop of players that will respect him for who he is. Mike, do you agree with Okwi on that one, that this crop of players will respect him and also give him the support that is due him?
Well, I think I tend to, tilt toward leaning to Okwi's opinion in that very regard because, the skin pigmentation seems to be the factor here with Nigerian players. We tend to accord more respect to the foreign-based, coaches because of their skin color, compared to our home-based, homegrown coaches out here. I totally go with that because, I think over there, they tend to see these white people as more superior. I don't know whether because of the color, I don't know what it is, but then I totally agree that he can be able to instill back that discipline for players in the national team. Because if he were to be Bruno Labbadia, Victor Osimhen wouldn't have gone to the social media to lambast and lampoon Finidi George the way he did. He won't do that against such a a white man. So I go with him on that.
Okay, before we let you go, I mean, the first challenge before him now is the AFCON qualifier next week. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, like I said, it's a fresh start. It's on a little challenge. The only challenge is that he's coming just about 11 days to the big one in Uyo on the 7th of September. I would have brought him earlier. We should have done so much to bring him earlier, at least maybe 2 or 3 months before this encounter. But it's a challenge. He's been given a 40-man list. Asked to prune it down to 23. So that's his first task as Super Eagles coach. Remove 17 names from the 40. That's another area where I think the NFF, we didn't do well. We should have allowed him to make his choice, look at the players, and their performances in Europe right now. The season is up and running. The players I'm looking at Kelechi Iheanacho and Chidera Ejuke right now for Sevilla against Mallorca's side. And so the coach should have been allowed to draw up his list by himself. But be that as it's made, what's been done is been done. I think, like I said, it's a fresh start. It's not the World Cup qualifier where we say we've lost a lot of ground. This is a fresh start. Everyone is beginning from on a new slate. So I want to believe that he's going to do well, and that the players should also be hungry. I mean, he should talk the players into the action. They should be hungry, given that expectations are very low because of their recent past performances.
I'm only bothered about the fact that no periodic agreement or condition was attached to his contract, and no monetary value was also attached.
Yes, I was in the studio this afternoon where my colleague said it's being run like a secret court. That's on the lighter side. But if you look at some of the contracts that we've handed some of our coaches in the recent past, we didn't even know how much they were paid until Joseph Pesero came out to shout. We didn't know how much he was paid. Gennaro up till now, I'm not sure I even understand how much Gennaro was paid and how much is being owed. So So these are some of the gray areas that, some of the things that we do concerning contracts regarding our coaches and even some of our players that that is a big challenge for journalists. You can't at your fingertips get some of this information. So, but I don't know why it's like that. But like I want to believe, I think that maybe there were no conditions attached because they want to give him time. I feel that even if he doesn't qualify for the World Cup, he will still have time. He needs time to be, because he's one man who's renowned for developing youth, and building teams. So I want to believe that NFF will be patient with this one and give him some time to build the side.
Many thanks to you, Okwi, for joining us on the show today. We appreciate it. I hope that within the week we'll get to hear from you as reaction continue to be elicited about Bruno Labbadia.
Thank you so much, Temple. Please come with my lunch to you as you're coming.
Surely we'll be there, and of course we'll have to test his metal a little. Mike, you heard from Okwi there, and that area he touched lastly before we'll have to call him off. No contract, no formal contract, and it continues. And it shouldn't be so, even if it's something that we already know the NFF for, but it shouldn't be so.
It shouldn't be so, but that has become a recurrent decimal for us in this part of the climb, that the NFF seems to be running their affair like a secret closet. Every of the activities are shrouded in secrecy. The monetary value of the coaches and how much the contract is worth, what are the conditions, what are the terms of agreement. All these things should be made public, so that we get to know all of this, because don't forget, we gave them that position of authority. It's more like a position of trust. They are our servants, so we demand to know some of this key or vital and sensitive information as regard to how much a coach is being paid, because they don't pay these coaches from their personal pocket. True. It's from our hard taxpayers' money as this thing is being paid. So for me, I think that NFF, should do well to also update us, with the contract terms and condition handed over to Bruno Labbadia.
All right, let's move now, and of course we will now talk about what is happening in club football. Mike is still this transfer season, and we heard that Manchester United have agreed a 50 million euros, equivalent to 42.29 million pounds, with Paris Saint-Germain for Uruguay midfielder Manuel Ugarte. If this deal goes through, that will be an interesting one for Manchester United, who wants to really beef up for the season after match day 2.
Yeah, Manchester United have been on the road on trying to see if they can be able to get this Uruguayan midfielder Manuel Ugarte. I think for me it's a very good midfielder, and they need such a midfielder to complement the effort of Bruno Fernandes in the midfield, because anytime you take away Bruno Fernandes from Manchester United midfield, it looks as though Manchester United totally collapsed. You saw what happened in their last game. When he was subbed out of the field, Manchester United paid dearly for it, and that is how they fell to the sledgehammer of their opponent. So for me, I think it's going to be of a good addition to the Manchester United squad.
And of course, the issue of with this now, we also hear that Ivan Toney might be heading to the way of Chelsea. Chelsea are having a bout on, as in regards to the Victor Osimhen matter. And I'm asking, if this continues or if this comes to reality, what lies the hope, or where lies the hopes of Victor Osimhen?
Well, that is a big issue and a big puzzle, a big question for Victor Osimhen and his camp, especially his agent, talking about Roberto Carlos. You need to find a way out to get Victor Osimhen out of this dicey situation, because as he stands, it looks to be on a cul-de-sac, on a very crossroad that it is, because Chelsea, that was very much interested in his signature, they are now switching attention to Brentford striker, talking about Ivan Toney, and who for me is a very good striker. If they can be able to get him, it's a good one for Chelsea Football Club, as they seek to bolster their squad with that centre forward who can be able to take chances when he comes and slot in the goal, because the likes of Nicolas Jackson, I think he has come under heavy criticism from different quarters, even Mikel Obi as well. He's very, very wasteful in front of goal, so you need a proven striker to man or steady the ship of Chelsea attack, and Ivan Toney seems to be that man, and it's going to be a very big worry for Victor Osimhen if you know, this man goes to Chelsea. It means the discussion of Victor Osimhen coming to Chelsea have already, you know, died down as it stands, because Chelsea, they are not ready to cough out a huge amount of money as it is right now from their new policy to pay, you know, players out there. Unlike the era of Roman Ibrahimovic, where he pays players much as £350,000 a week, £300,000, 250, 280, at most 200, 150. But then, I think the new owner, talking about Todd Bowley and the Leclerc group, they have now come with a new, you know, arrangement. They want to maximize profit, and that is why they don't give you, you know, such huge amount of you know, wage bill, weekly wage bill. The highest they give these days is 65, 70, at most £80,000 weekly pay. So for me, I think that has also hindered Chelsea, you know, from getting the services of Victor Osimhen. So they are now reverting to Ivan Toney. And of course, you know, Brentford is a mid-table team, and their salary wage is not that big. Because so him coming to Chelsea is even a bigger platform. You want to, you know, take a dive and come to Stamford Bridge immediately.
And then, I mean, at the worst case scenario, what would be the hope of Victor Osimhen?
His case is in limbo. I think the only thing that will come for him is Saudi, you know, clubs out there. But then, 3 days ago, his agent Roberto Calenda came up live with Victor Osimhen. He said that no, this is my client, and he's too young to go to the Saudi Pro League. And of course, don't forget, he's the African Footballer of the Year. Finished 8th position in the Ballon d'Or award. So still very much relevant. He demands that respect should be paid to Victor Osimhen, according to Little. So for me, it's about what agents are keen on making, you know, for their. Of course,
and of course, Calendar is a renowned, you know, agent, football agent. So he has a way of pulling some of these undoubted deals. I won't be surprised what will happen in the next couple of days. But the transfer ends this weekend, and so Victor Osimhen needs to be on and going. Otherwise, I mean, it looks like he might just play it back, and I'm just wondering what will be coming in the mind of Conte.
I think Victor Osimhen is probably going to rock his boat if he doesn't leave at the end of this month, because don't forget, transfer window ends on the 12 p.m. or the 31st of this, and we still have about 4 days before it elapses. So, but it's just that it's going to be a kind of a panic buy for some clubs out there, because they want to beat the transfer window deadline to get the services of Victor Osimhen.
All right, many thanks to you, Mike, for being part of the conversation here this evening. We'll be back again tomorrow.